Staring at herself in the mirror on the restroom door. Voices in her head that mirror what she's heard before.
Hey beautiful people, it's your girl Shakima. I'm just stopping in for today's Celebs Chat. This series we're actually going to be talking about diving into unpacking all of the ratchetness, all of the discreet and covert drama that is taking place and the very overt drama that we're actually experiencing, and just kind of like seeing how the unfolding of that will transpire for this season. So I figured I'd get in on it whilst it's fresh and hot, seeing as we didn't get too much from Basketball Wives when we did that last series. But hope you guys are feeling the vibes of this season of growing up hip-hop LA so far. There is a lot to unpack, guys, so just to sort of let you guys know how this works, these are going to be my personal psychoanalysis and observation based on what I see in terms of the personalities, the characteristic traits that are engaging with each other and clashing with each other simultaneously at the same time. So you guys will be able to get a little bit of an insight from a bit more of a coaching perspective. You get to see me coach these guys behind the scenes, and maybe sort of like do some predictive behavioral patterns as we did with Basketball Wives LA. So if that's what you're into, this is a space for you. If you're looking solely for just like personal opinions, I do sort of like give my personal opinion on a few things, but that is for us to really sort of like dive into and unpack, because things aren't necessarily as they're prepared to be on surface. So I always like to go a little bit deeper, even if I do give a personal opinion. Okay, my love? So all of that awesomeness being said, guys, let's go ahead and dive into it. We've got a lot to unpack for this episode. Stay tuned. Right, guys, so we've got a lot to unpack with this first episode. First thing I want to talk to you guys about is Sam and Egypt and the evolution of Egypt. I really want to dive into that because I feel like she's definitely coming into her own, kind of like figuring out who she is, you know, as the, I guess, daughter of these major stars, and she's got Sam to ride the take hole of her parents. We're definitely going to go ahead and dive into that because I think Egypt's evolution is synchronistically sort of taking place with Sam's evolution. We want to unpack both of those situations. Another thing I want to sort of touch in on is the Egypt and TeeTee situation. You know, Brianna was throwing some subtle shade in there when she mentioned about, both of them racing to the altar, but we're going to unpack the element of competition that is there, that is causing this friction and combative force, and is kind of like breaking down the layers of inauthenticity when it comes to TeeTee and Egypt's actual relationship. We're definitely going to go ahead and unpack that. Another thing that I want to talk to you guys, keep notes guys, because we've got a lot, like I said, to unpack. Another thing that I do want to talk to you guys about is Sam and Jojo's beef, because I feel like Jojo's a little bit of a hothead, like he's just out here like not really caring, I guess, how he comes off to people. He's just really kind of like, he's at that place, he's kind of like barking and letting you know that he's willing to bite as well. So we're definitely going to go ahead and unpack that. Also, keeping on the Sam topic, I want to speak about Pep and Sam. I want to speak about the dynamics there, because I don't know if Pep is literally just oblivious, or is she really more or less willfully ignorant, because there's a little bit of layers to that situation that I really do want to unpack with you guys. And a couple of other things closing out the space. We want to talk about Jojo and his wife's loss. Definitely want to be able to kind of like unpack that, because I know that 2020 was such a big year for us as a collective, and that's pretty much what their 2020 journey was about, and they're embracing and embarking on the journey of their healing at this point. So definitely want to unpack a little bit of that, not too deeply, because we don't have a lot of information about the situation, but I appreciate them actually speaking about it. And finally, just want to speak about the new castmate Savannah and the potential somebody that Angela may be bringing onto the cast as well as her new man. So all of that awesomeness, guys, is coming up right here. So stay tuned. Okay, so Sam and Egypt. the evolution of Egypt. What I'm seeing with that situation is that Egypt is really sort of like coming into her own. The trick is, I think when she first sort of started with, you know, the actual show, she was very particular about how she wanted to appear on the show, the kind of image that she wanted to give, the persona that she wanted to be able to embody. And I think as time has kind of gone on and she has been growing through the process, we're literally watching Egypt become a woman on screen, guys. So we're kind of seeing a little bit more about the kind of woman that she is. She's stepping into her hashtag boss lady vibe. And she's got the right partner for it. Now, this is why I say this. Hold on, stick with me, guys. Sam is a little bit of a joke. We know this. He's a little bit of a joke and a jokester. But for somebody like Egypt, who is pretty much kind of like coming into her own, trying to sort of like figure out who she is and really coming into her power, he's a good suitor for her. Why I say that is because he is down for the shit show. He is so desperate for fame that he would actually allow most things. And I think for Egypt, interestingly enough, I wouldn't say she's desperate for companionship, but I think Sam allows her to feel as though she has a voice. And I think because she's like the youngest in the kind of dynamic that she had with Pep, TeeTee, and herself, it's almost like her voice was silenced in that kind of dynamic. And with the situation with someone like Sam, where he's living off you, he's sponging off you and your mom, you know, he'll do whatever it takes to kind of like earn his keep. Now, I love the fact, right, that Sam is out here preaching to everyone about his OnlyFans page and his $3,500 a month. I'm glad that he's finally making some cheddar. Okay, so let's take it bit by bit with the situation with Sam, because last season he was like dogged for not being able to sort of like bring any income, and this season they've managed to find a way around that situation. So kudos to them for that. Now, you know, both Jojo, I think it was Jojo, Sam, Jojo, Boogie, and Savannah actually said that you know, their price would be a lot higher if they were supposed to, you know, if they were to engage in something like that. It wouldn't be for $3,500. But again, for somebody coming from Sam's background, that's a lot of money. So for him, that is like a step into him being able to value his worth. Now, granted, his worth is him prancing around in some male thongs, but he's comfortable in all of that. And trust me, I'm not really a big fan of Sam on a personal level, but I think he's great TV. I think that he's very manipulative. I think that he's an opportunist. I think that he'll do whatever it takes to get to where he's trying to get to, which is pretty much being in, you know, in the limelight. He wants to be able to be on TV. I think it was very calculated, the way that he met Egypt and inserted himself into her life. I think that it was premeditated. After season 1, seeing Egypt, seeing how vulnerable she was, seeing that she was still young in mind, in spirit, and didn't necessarily really know herself. I think that he pretty much like prowled specifically for Egypt. And I'm not saying that Egypt's a prey of Sam's, because I think it's a good dynamic for both of them, because Egypt is coming into her own by utilizing this person who wants fame so badly they will do whatever it takes. She gets to be able to kind of figure out her domineering tendencies, because it's in there. She was constantly being dominated over by Pep and TeeTee in the dynamics that they experienced before. So now where she is no longer in that mindset and frame of mind, things are a little bit tricky, which brings me to my next actual topic, which is Egypt and TeeTee. There's clearly some competition that's going on here. Nobody wants to speak about the fact that this competition exists, because it's almost like acknowledging it makes it very real, whereas them both going on this hidden agenda saying that this person has hurt me, this person has upset me. Don't get me wrong. I definitely believe that they have like real issues about the way that they've both handled certain situations, but I think realistically they could sit down and speak about these things because of where they used to be, basically. I think what transpired from what I could see is that, you know, TeeTee wanted to be able to kind of continue to tell Egypt how to live her life, and Egypt was becoming her own woman, so she had to grow and learn from her own mistakes. That wasn't necessarily something that TeeTee was willing to be patient and tolerant with. unfortunately, because the mistake that she was going to be learning from, she's still in the process of that class, i.e. Sam. And just because TeeTee could see through some of his tactics, you know, she was very clear that this is a boundary for her. This is just not somebody that she wants to engage with in life. It's not somebody that she wants to let into her world. It's her right to be able to kind of like make these very clear-cut boundaries and respect them for herself. But what do you guys think? Let me know. Do you feel like there is an element of competition between TeeTee and Egypt, because they're both kind of trying to race to the altar to outdo each other? And I think things just happened how it was naturally supposed to happen. You know, I think what they're not realizing is that, yes, Egypt got the boyfriend and the proposal before TeeTee, but TeeTee got pregnant, had the child, and is now in a position where she's looking forward to planning her wedding. So I think that they're kind of like missing the whole point of what's actually occurring in the dynamics of their relationship, where a lot of the times with cousins as well, there can be like a lot of sibling rivalry. It will show up like that if there's kind of like an only child sort of situation, or maybe if you're the only girl, you kind of start to gain friction with your cousin, where there's this element, your other female cousin, where there's this element of competition. So I feel like they're just going through the paces of that sibling rivalry as adults at this point. But I think that they should just both be grateful that they're in the positions that they're in. I mean, TeeTee's having a destination wedding. Not everybody's in a position to do something like that. So yeah, I think they just need to kind of both of them, you know, come out of their egos a little bit to be able to move forward. I do understand TeeTee's point of not wanting to have Sam around her, and I also equally understand Egypt's point, where she's like, you know what, this is my partner, this is the man that I'm going to marry for now. I was going to say and be with for the rest of my life, but I think that eventually Egypt will wake up and realize, yes, they are compatible, but is he the right fit for her? Okay. That being said, definitely for myself, just to kind of like let you guys know, in the court of public opinion, my personal opinion is that there is an element of competition with TeeTee and Egypt. I think I've already just kind of like clarified that to you guys. So that's my personal opinion. Let me know what your personal opinion is. Comment down below and we will discuss it in the comments, guys. Okay, so the next thing I want to speak to you guys about is the Sam and Jojo beef, because this one, I guess we kind of left off on this whole storyline last season, and it's kind of picked up first episode this season. I think, you know, Sam can be very disrespectful, especially because he knows that he is now in with the clique. You know, he knows that he's got the backing of Tretch and Pep, so he almost feels as though like he's invincible and he can't be touched. My phone concurs. So I think it's one of those situations where Sam, he just doesn't really strike me as the type. I think that he is probably too concerned about his physical appearance and stuff. I don't think he's really about like roughing it like that when it comes to like really beefing guys. I think he gives me more bitch vibes, for lack of a better way of putting it, guys. He gives me more sort of like he bitch vibes. He'll talk a lot of talk, so he's got a lot of bark. As far as the bite, it's yet to be seen. But yeah, I guess we'll kind of like learn a little bit more about that situation as it unfolds for this season, because I think him and Twist still have some unresolved issues as well. And Twist, as tiny as he is, you know, Napoleon syndrome is real in that little man, and he's ignorant enough to actually bring some beef to Sam. So we'll be able to kind of like see how that situation kind of pans out for the rest of the season. One thing I do want to speak about though, Eazy-E, I am loving his level up in terms of business, because I think when we first saw him, you know, on the first season, they were really sort of like on hard times. I don't know if you guys remember sort of like all the way back then, but they were really on some hard times. So to see how far he's come, can we get like a round of applause for Eazy-E? I feel like he's done a really great job with the circumstances that he's endured, and now he's in his blessings phase. So we want to sort of like give some snaps for Eazy-E, and just his exponential growth, not only as a businessman, but also as a man and father as well. Because I think last season, you know, during his evolution process, he committed which was tricky, I guess. But he did it. He committed, and now he's like reaping the benefits of being able to maintain structure and stability. So kudos to him for that. Whilst we're on the topic of the Sam and Jojo beef, I just want to sort of like speak one final thing on Sam, like I mentioned. His relationship with Pep. I think that Pep is choosing to be willfully ignorant. I don't think that she's oblivious. I think she can clearly see what she can see when it comes to Sam, but I think she wants to be able to support her daughter, whatever it is. Even if it's in a wrong decision, she just wants to support her daughter, and that's fine. You know, I get it. I understand not wanting to be like too domineering, because that was the whole point. Like, she's having to like loosen the reins a bit because Egypt is now growing up and Egypt's finding her own and coming into herself. And I understand that she wants to be able to be a little bit more hands off and let Egypt kind of like find her way. But yeah, I think that she's dropped the ball a little bit here, because she's allowing for Sam to do a lot of things that she can clearly see is toxic. And she knows that it's not Egypt, but in all honesty, I don't think she liked the Egypt that she had. So bear with me, hear me out on this. So Egypt before was really kind of like soft-spoken. She was very demure. You know, she was very polite, well-mannered. Not saying that she isn't right now. She's still that same person underneath, but I think that Pep wanted her to get a little bit more pep in her step, because that's how Pep is. She can be quite aggressive and abrasive and abrupt and in your face. Speaking as a fellow Jamaican, these are some of our characteristic traits, culturally as the women of Caribbean culture, Jamaican heritage to be more precise. Those are some of the qualities that we share. So I understand her wanting to be able to kind of like see a different side of Egypt, but at this point I'm thinking like, at what expense? You know, at what expense are you really prepared to pay? And I'm really surprised that Tretch is even allowing Sam to kind of get away with what I think is murder, to be fair, because he's clearly just kind of like using the family. Not just, I think that he definitely has an attraction and love for Egypt as well. But I think that she's more appealing because of what he's getting from the relationship, the benefits that comes along with the relationship for him. And I feel a little bit sad because it semi feels like Pep is kind of like, you know, pimping Egypt out. I don't even want to say that, but that's kind of like low-key how it feels. Maybe she doesn't necessarily understand the full dynamics of what's taking place. And like I said, because she wants to let Egypt be a woman and come into her own and make her own decisions, it's easy for her to basically plead, how can I put it? It's easy for her to say, well, you made the choice. You know, I tried to tell you, but you made the choice. So it's easy for her to fall back and say, look, that was your decision at the end of the day. I think she somewhere knows in the back of her mind that things won't necessarily last with Sam, but she's letting it play out however it needs to, because if she goes too hard on it, then it might affect her relationship with her daughter. So I think that that may be the approach that she's taking to the situation personally. Okay, so all of that awesomeness out of the way, let's talk about Jojo and his missus. Can't really remember her name off the top of my head here, so forgive me for that. Can I just say, I'm glad that Romeo isn't back in this particular season, before I kind of like get into that whole thing, because I feel like, you know, again, he was being inauthentic. His feelings got hurt by what he saw with Angela, kind of hanging out with Bao, because they've always had like this little rivalry thing going on in the back of, you know, the scenes with things. Maybe it may not have been real, as both him and Bow Wow have put it, but I feel like even though there may not be any truth to it, it's still an energetic engagement. Like, people have created that narrative, so that narrative is still at play. So I'm glad to see that he's not basically on the show this season pretending like he doesn't care about Angela, like he doesn't like give two shits about her, and he just wants to live his best life and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that was a whole sidebar, but just needed to put it out there because I feel like I'll be able to get a little bit more observation, because I think that he really did believe the things that he was saying, Romeo. And I think for real, a part of him really is in that place where he's over it, but also I think the experiences from his childhood I don't know how much healing has basically taken place there. It looks like he's just kind of like swept it under the rug and decided not to speak about it. Point, period, blank. Okay, that part. So moving on to Jojo and his missus and their loss. Like this is something that touched me. I really felt for his missus. I'm gonna plug her name somewhere in the bottom of the video somewhere here, but yeah, it really did touch me because you could really tell. I know that Jojo really wanted another child, and I know that she wasn't completely keen on the idea, but to be in a position where you're growing life inside of you and then all of a sudden it's just you guys, like to hear you know, even for Vanessa, she just kind of like mentioned, even from her own experience, she didn't necessarily unpack it, so she's, you know, just respectful of their process, and you know, is just really trying to see what they are and aren't willing to speak about, but also very respecting of the fact that they're actually putting some of the stuff out there, and just letting it be known so that maybe somebody else who's kind of like dealing with the same sort of trauma will feel some sort of sense of release or relief, even knowing that they're not alone, and that, you know, that 2020 experience for them wasn't just a singularity. So many other people are in that class, and you know, they're all going through their collective healing together outside of just 2020. You know, so many people would have probably had their own experiences of losing a child before birth, and they're still able to kind of like resonate with the story and go through a process of their own healing with them as well on screen. So I think that it's beautiful that they're actually letting us into that part of their private life, because I feel like Jojo is really quite personal, and usually he seems to want to like let his sisters like do all the private life unveiling stuff. Interestingly enough, we don't actually know that much about Vanessa's personal life, even though we know about, when I say her personal life, I mean her family life. Outside of her extended family life, I mean her immediate family with her partner, her child, and some of the things I guess that they've overcome in their own relationship. Hopefully, maybe as the season kind of continues, we'll get a little bit more, but she seems like she knows better than that to kind of like put her relationship on blast on reality TV. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But grateful to Jojo and his missus for sharing their story with us, and we're sending out prayers to them for their healing process. That's pretty much it, really, guys. Final stuff, just closing out the space, guys. Savannah, Stevie J's daughter. What do we think of her on this season so far? I've seen her in a couple of other reality TV shows, and she's always been quite the aggressive female. So it's nice to actually see her a little bit softer in her approach now. She seems like maybe she's matured a little bit since we saw her and Jocelyn Hernandez kind of like square up on, I think it was Love and Hip Hop. So yeah, let me know what kind of vibes you guys are getting from Savannah. I think one of the things that they're kind of like doing with her storyline, from what I can see so far, is there may be some sort of you know, romance maybe between her and Boogie, or her and Twist, which is going to be really quite interesting. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to kind of like see how that unfolds in itself. And just to touch in on Boogie, I did sort of like see a little bit of a clip with Boogie and Brianna. They seem like a very dysfunctional couple to me. It seems like there's love, some sort of like weird connection there that is just not, it doesn't fit, right? It doesn't fit, but it just can't seem to dissipate at the same time, because there's love there, but it's like Brianna wants more love, or feels a bit jaded by the fact that he didn't love her maybe in the same way as a romantic sort of like interest. And I think that there's still some undertone to a little bit of cattiness beneath the surface with their relationship. And I feel like Boogie also kind of like feels like he'd like to hit that, but he doesn't want a relationship with her because she's toxic, and he's aware of that, you know. But he wouldn't want to hit it and then having to be around her. He'd want to hit it and quit it and not have to have anything else in the mix with that situation, if possible. But because it is Brianna and he does genuinely like her as a person in his little atmosphere, he doesn't want to kind of like, I guess, break her any more than she's already broken, is probably the best way that I can put it. And finally, Angela Simmons and her new man, her new bae. We haven't yet seen him actually like present himself on screen just yet, but we are waiting for that. in the next few episodes, we'll be able to kind of like see what's coming and unpack that. Vanessa had mentioned that Angela has a tendency to go really quickly when it comes to relationships, and we did see it. She went from being the self-proclaimed virgin, waiting until marriage, to I'm having a baby, we're kind of engaged, don't know if I really like him like that, because we didn't really get to know each other like that, but we fell pregnant because things got hot and steamy before I knew it type situation. So we'll get to see how the relationship space actually sort of unfolds, I guess, for Angela, and we'll be able to unpack it. But it will be interesting to kind of like see, even with the Brianna and Egypt beef, kind of like where we are with that situation, how they've been able to resolve things since last season, and really just kind of like picking up to see where their friendship's at, really. I hope I didn't bore you guys too much. I hope it wasn't like too much information, but definitely comment down below and let me know what you guys think of 1, the evolution of Egypt, 2, the element of competition between Egypt and TeeTee, 3, is Pepper being oblivious, or is she just being willfully ignorant at this point? And finally, what the hell's going on with Savannah and Twist? What's up with that? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, and we'll be able to chop it up, guys. If you guys do like my vibe, definitely be sure to subscribe and join the tribe. I'd love to have you, and we can sort of like chop up the entire series of Growing Up Hip Hop LA Season 6. I'd love to chop it up with you guys. On that note, I'm gonna love you guys and leave it there for you guys. I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, my loves, take care. God bless.
They said to hold her back, they never seem to leave her head, and tend to keep her mind at war. All the things they said to hold her back, they keep her locked inside of all the times when she's been hurt before.